Hi, I'm Barbara Wigan with the Caring Arts Foundation, and I'm back with another pandemic arts project for you. I hope you've all been staying well and staying creative. Today is a beautiful summer day, and my garden is blooming. So I brought a few in, and these are all members of the sunflower family. I've got some coneflower, echinacea, a black-eyed Susan, and I don't even know what that one is, but it's clearly a member of the sunflower family. Now, I don't have any of those great big traditional sunflowers, but I've seen them blooming in the neighborhood. And nothing makes me think of summer more than a beautiful sunflower. Sunflowers have traditionally been a favorite subject for many artists. I've got a few examples here. Here's one by Monet. Here's a Georgia O'Keeffe. And perhaps the most famous of all, Vincent van Gogh was famous for painting beautiful sunflowers. Now today we're going to create sunflowers using the simplest materials of all. When is the last time you colored with crayons? Well, today I'm going to show you how to do that. If you haven't done it in a while, it's going to be a lot of fun. There's just a very few very simple materials you need. First of all, you need some paper. Now, I happen to like this mixed media paper. It's just a little bit bigger than a traditional letter size paper, but it's got a nice finish on it. A little bit of a texture to it, and I really like that. You could also use plain white cardstock. You should use something that's a little bit on the heavy side, got a little body to it. But a simple cardstock that you can get at any business supply store will work just fine. I'm going to use my mixed media paper today though. And you also need some crayons. Now I splurged on a big box of Crayola crayons. These are 96 colors in here. You do not need that many. Whatever you have on hand, we can make use of. But I got these they're $5 at Target. Or you can get them at Michael's. They're a little more there, but if you have a coupon, you can get them very cheaply. And then some other things, you're going to need a number 10 pencil. You also need an eraser. I really like these kneaded erasers. They're soft and pliable, and I like these very much. They don't leave any crumbs behind when you erase with them. And then I'm using, well, you're probably going to use a sharpener. At some point your crayons are going to get a little nubby and you might want to sharpen them up, so you'll need just a basic pencil sharpener for those. And for the end of the project, I'm going to show you a simple technique that's very interesting using baby oil. Now you don't have to do this. It'll be beautiful without the baby oil, but it's an interesting thing to do. And in order to use the baby oil, you're going to need a cup of some sort, a little plastic or paper cup, and some cotton swabs. So that's going to be at the very end, and I'll show you how to do that. And then also, especially if you decide to use the baby oil, you need a piece of paper, scrap paper of some kind. A brown paper bag works just fine, but just to protect your tablecloth. And an extra sheet of scrap paper that I use to test out my colors. Now, for the purpose of today, I've already done some of that, so I've actually chosen my color palette. But you're going to want to test out some colors to use and see what works well for you. And then I get started by drawing a big circle in the middle. I'm going to put my glasses on. I happen to use a coaster. You can also use a cup, the end of a cup for that. Or the other end of the cup, if you want to make a smaller flower, you can use another circle cap of any kind, depending on what size flower you want to create. And it doesn't need to be perfect. So we're going to start with our number 10 pencil. I'm going to take my coaster and I'm going to draw a big circle, and that's going to be the center of my flower. And then I'm going to start drawing some petals. And you have to make sure they're large enough for whatever circle you've drawn. And petals can be all different shapes and sizes. They can be more long and narrow. They can be pointy at both ends. There's all kinds of sunflowers and all kinds of different ways to do this. Now you want to keep them kind of light, because light colors like yellow is going to show through. You can see I've drawn all my petals here all the way around, and then I've also drawn petals in the spaces between the petals that are kind of going behind the top petals. Now I like to start with the background usually, and I've got my my 4 colors here for the sky, and I'm going to start with light to dark. So the colors we're going to use for the sky, what I chose are sky blue is my lightest color, and then I've got turquoise blue. I've got cerulean is going to be my dark color on the bottom, and then I'm going to create some shadows using just plain old blue. And then you're also going to need white for your clouds. So I'm going to start by using those on my test paper and see how that kind of looks like. I want to make sure the colors are good. I'm going to start with my lightest color and be sure you're being very smooth with your coloring. So I'm going to start pretty light, and the harder you press, the darker it will be. I don't have much pressure here, so I'm starting pretty light, and that looks pretty good. And I could get darker if I want. But the good thing to do is to kind of layer the color in there. So, and you can see there, it's very smooth. I'm not, don't have a lot of lines like, you know, like this. You would have lines if you color too hard. So I'm trying to not have lines. And then I'm going to see what this other color looks like to blend with this. So if I start just off to the side of where I ended and come in and layer on top of that, I'm getting some darker color and then adding more pressure. And then I'm going to do the same with my darkest blue. So I start off to the side of where I first ended with that last color and then come into it, and you can blend these. And this is a great technique for blending light to dark. Here, and you can see it's still very smooth and I don't have a lot of lines, so that's a good technique. Also, I think when I do my background on my sunflower, I'm going to add some clouds. So you can't really draw on top of a color with the white, so the best thing to do is to put some white down on the paper first. I'm going to show you how that looks here. It's hard to see a white on white here, but I'm just doing some rough clouds just to get a sense of what that would look like. And then if I'm going to take my middle color here, my middle blue, and then if I draw around, color around that cloud and go into the white a little bit with that color, I'm going to end up with some white clouds when I'm done. Now you could also just leave the white of the paper, but that's actually a little harder to do. So this to me, it looks smoother. And there you go, you can see in the middle there, I have my white cloud. So that's a good test to do. And then you start applying it to your actual drawing. Now I'm going to start with my white, and I think I'm going to make the clouds kind of low because I think clouds are often lower in the sky, and on a bright summer day the top of the sky is just a nice bright blue. So I'm going to add some clouds a little below the middle of my paper, and just here and there add some white clouds. I know they're kind of hard to see now. I'm going to go off the end of the paper. And then I think I'm going to go, my sky is going to go from dark to light. So I'm going to actually start with my lightest on the top and just color the same way I did on my test paper, trying to go in one direction and to keep my strokes very smooth. And I can always go back and make it darker if I think it's too light. So better to start light, and then you can go darker You can always go back and make it darker if you don't like it. This isn't really a fast process, but it's very relaxing. So I'm going to start to bring in my second, I'm going to start to add a little pressure first here. Make it a little bit darker, just using this same color. So my next color is my turquoise blue, and I'm going to start on the paper just off the edge of where I ended with the light blue. So again, using this very same kind of stroke, and then blend into my top color, and just keep getting a little bit darker as I go down. Continuing to blend over the other color. Now, actually, I just covered up one of my clouds. I didn't want to do that. I'm going to take my eraser and erase some of that. Now, that's another way you can make clouds, actually. You can just take an eraser and erase what you've done, which is another really easy way, especially if you have a kneaded eraser. It's a really easy way to make clouds. So I'm going to continue on, and I'm getting to another white cloud, so I'm going to kind of go around that. Keep the project out if you can. After you've selected all your colors, you can keep it out, and you don't have to do the whole thing in one day. You can add a little bit more, and every time you walk by it, you're going to see something a little bit different. Try to keep your strokes all in one direction and keep them smooth. And then I'm going to start with my darkest color, and I'm going to go from the bottom up on that. So that's a really pretty blue. And again, now I'm applying a little more pressure, and then I'm going to get lighter as I go up. And you can always, again, go back and layer. Layer look works really well with crayons. So I'm going to go around my cloud. It's also a great thing to take this with you. It's so easy to pack up the colors if you started a project. If you've got a doctor's appointment or something, grab a plastic bag and put all your colors in there, and slide your artwork into an envelope and take it with you and color at the doctor's office. Your clouds need to just look like they're kind of floating in there. And now I'm going to start to layer into my other color here. So again, you can keep going back and add more pressure where you want it to be a little bit darker. So I'm going to have kind of a nice smooth sky. Now I'm going to move on to my flower. I'm going to give a sense of some seeds around the outside of the flower. So I'm just going to draw some rough idea of seeds, almost as if sun is shining on them. And I don't want my pencil to show through, so I'm actually going to lighten up my pencil line here. There we go. I don't have to follow that exact circle anyway. So I'm just making some yellow spots to give a sense that there's something going on the inside of this flower. And I'm kind of defining the circle with these sort of seeds. But you can see they're not evenly spread, and they don't precisely follow that circle. And begin to add some in the center, or kind of towards the center a little bit as well. And I can define these more with my black and brown crayons. Just giving a sense of that though. Some are kind of bigger than others. Might make some of them a little bit bigger. Then I'm going to try to maybe add some white ones in the center, just to give a little bit of a sense of more going on there. I don't know how well you can see this white, but when we get the black around it, it'll show up. So here we get a sense that there's something more going on in the center of this flower besides just solid color. And now I'm going to start with my brown and start on the end and color into the center. So you can see how that's going. And sort of around my white seeds. And then I'm going to add black. We'll see how this is going to work out. And begin to blend that into the brown as we move out from the center. You can see the white seeds and even the other ones are getting a little more defined as I put the dark color around it. And I may continue to darken that up. So again, we're just continuing to layer, going from light to dark, and I'm going to add more brown. And just keep doing that. Now I'm going to jump to the next part of the petal. I'll eventually finish this up, but I'm going to jump around to the next part of the petal just so you can see each part of the project. And now I'm going to try some yellow and orange and I think some purple. I'd like to add some purple to this. Do I have any purple? Let me see, I think this is kind of a maroony purple here. I think it's interesting to add some colors that you wouldn't normally expect. I'm going to try a darker yellow here as well. So again, I'm taking my test paper and trying out some colors. I'm going to start with the light yellow. And then this is probably more of a sunflower yellow. Yeah, that works really well. So I can add that on top. And let's see, some orange. So I'm just looking like a sunset. And let's see what this is purpley enough. Oh, that's pretty good. I want to lighten up my pencil line because the light colors, it shows through and I don't really want the pencil line to show through. So I'm going to sketch around my pencil line and I'm going to start coloring in some nice yellow. Now I can go pretty hard on this yellow, but again you'll see I'm coloring in one direction, and then I think I'm gonna probably add some of that darker yellow in here. Add some of that darker yellow. And then I just keep layering on top of the yellow I put down already. I can always add more of that or layer more on top of that, but I'm kind of liking this sunflower-ish yellow, sort of a darker yellow. And I'm going to layer more of the other yellow on top of it. And I might add some orange just to add some shadows. But I think I'm going to add some purple on the bottom. Found a good purple. And that's going to make it look more like it's going into the center of the flower. So you can sort of blend that in. But again, you're kind of all still going the same direction. I'm going to add more of that dark yellow on top. And I'm going to darken the first yellow I used, the lightest yellow. It's very bright yellow. And there, you just keep layering until you get the effect you're looking for, and the color combination you're looking for. Crayons are not like paint, where they're not entirely, the colors don't blend the same way. So you have to kind of practice these techniques. I am liking this purple though. It definitely is helping to look like it's going down into the center of the flower. And then I think I'm going to add some orange just to add a bit of a glow. That adds that nice sunset glow, which sunflowers kind of look like the sun. There we go. It's kind of a nice color combination. And then you can always add more detail as we start to do the leaves behind. You're going to want them to be darker and maybe others to be lighter, and you start to add a little detail perhaps with your black, and add more definition around the petals like that. You can even add some darker, probably would use brown to add some even darker shadows, but you keep layering and going on. Now you want the behind leaves, the ones that are sticking behind the others, to be darker. So I'm not even going to use that light yellow on those. I think I'm just going to start with the darker yellow, kind of outline around there, and again color that in. And then I think I'm going to use my brown color to add more shadow. So it really looks like it's going behind the other petals. And then I think I'm going to add more purple too, because I like that purple color. And the purple on top of the brown is making it look even darker. And then again, you just keep layering in. But there you can see it looks like that petal is going behind this one. And then at the end we'll add more detail. So you can see I've worked on a number of petals, and I'm going to go back and touch up my center part. I want to do a couple things. I want it to appear that the sunlight is kind of hitting it from this way, so I think I'm going to add just a little bit of yellow to the brown parts, just to give it a little sense of glow. It's subtle, but it looks a little bit warmer than the bottom part. I can go right over the yellow, my yellow spots there. And then if I want to give a little more depth to the black, there's two options. I can actually add more black in the black sections, which is an option. But I don't want to press too hard and start to get lines. So instead, I'm going to take another dark color. It could be purple, it could be blue, it could be a dark green. And I'm just going to add some of that in the black part on the bottom, more on the bottom. And it really gives some depth. It makes it look a little deeper and richer. I'm going to add a little detail. Petals usually have some detail to them. You can make this as enhanced or as flat as you like, really. I'm going to do the same with the brown on the back petals, like that. And then I'm going to add a little more blue. I'm using I think I'm going to use a darker blue. This is a dark blue. This is a regular blue, I think, just for interest and separation, to give more separation between the petals and the sky, and that way the flower will pop out a little bit more. And I'm going to continue to do that all the way around. And then the thing is to go back, especially after you've finished the whole flower, you want to go back and add some detail here and there. You can do as much or as little as you like. Again, to add some separation, you can take your black crayon and go around the petals. You can use brown instead if you prefer. You can use black and brown. You could even use the purple if you want. So you can see I've added these little touches of green, and that actually came from a happy little accident. I happened to accidentally get some blue into my petal, and the yellow made it green, and I decided I liked the way that looked. So I just added it to more of the petals. So I'm going to add a little over here, just adding a little bit of blue. It's just the basic blue. I don't have any leaves. I put a little green stem here, but I don't actually have any leaves. So it gives a sense of almost a reflection of the green that would normally be all below this flower. And then I'm taking a lighter green, and I'm just gonna add a little bit more. But you can see the yellow actually turned that blue green. So I'm adding a little more light green here. And I've done that to all these petals. And that's it. Now this last technique I'm going to show you makes use of the baby oil. I'm going to show you how that works. You want to take your baby oil and just pour a little bit into a plastic or a paper cup. You don't need very much of it. And then you will need some cotton swabs. And I'm going to show you how that works with some of these test projects I did. What the baby oil is going to do is it melts the crayon, so it gives a soft appearance, almost like watercolor. I did some tests here to show you the difference. Here you can see how this is like I did the last project, where it just shows the texture of the paper. And this one has applied the baby oil, and you can see how much softer everything looks. So you can see I haven't done any detail at all, and I'm going to finish the center of this flower using that same ombre technique that we were using before. But I'm going to make this a little simpler than the last sunflower purposely, so I can show you this technique. So I'm just going to, I started with the dark yellow, the goldenrod yellow color, and this is an orange, and I'm just blending those together. And then I've got, I think this is a burnt orange here, it's a little bit darker, and I'm just going to keep getting progressively darker with these colors. So it's going to create what looks like, almost like a big setting sun. You know, you get those beautiful colors in the sun. I'm just going to keep blending those down and blending them together. And I'm getting progressively darker as I go down. And what you would do is actually finish the entire drawing before you apply this baby oil to it, and then you can decide if you want to apply it to the whole thing or just little parts of it. I'm going to get a brown on the bottom here. And again, it's just a matter of continuously blending and adding a little more pressure where you want it to be darker. And I'm going to add a little more yellow here too, just to give it a bit of a glow. So it really looks like a glowing setting sun. Okay, and then you need to use a different swab for each color, and the oil does take different colors differently. So I'm going to start with my blue background just to give you a sense of what this looks like. So I dip my swab into the baby oil, and now I'm just rubbing in kind of a light circular pattern over it. And you can see it's kind of melting the crayon, and it's taking away the strokes, and it's giving me this nice soft appearance. And you will pick up some color onto the swab. You could actually use that if you want to add a little detail into the cloud. It's very subtle. I'm going to add a little more oil to keep going here. Now you can see I've got this nice soft color back here. There we go. Now I'm going to change swabs. Actually, I'm going to use the back of this one to do the petal. And I'm going to start on the dark part of the petal and go from dark to light. I don't know if it makes a difference. You could probably go light to dark just as easily. This way it brings some of the darker color up into the rest of the petal. So it's totally changed the texture. And then I'm just going to do the center part. The more you rub, the more it takes away the texture of the paper. It softens the whole thing. So there you go. You want to let that dry really good. And then you can continue to color on top of this if you like. If you want to add more color or make something darker or add some detail, this would be the time to do that. I probably haven't let this dry enough to do this, but look and see how transparent the paper is to see if it's drying. After it dries, you can add more crayon color to it, and it's going to still continue to have that soft look. So you want to test this first and make sure this is the feel you want to achieve. But there, I've added some more dark color in there with the purple. If you want to add some detail lines, like some of the petal lines, you can do that now. Like that. And once you know it's really dry, you can actually add, take a black Sharpie marker and add some more detail. Now this is going to give it a very contemporary look, so you might want to try this out on your test paper and make sure it's the look you're going for. But it's very interesting. It's going to give a very contemporary feel to this. So I'm going to just go around the edge and add some lines, very loose. You can add some little detail marks in the middle if you want. And around that center part, you can add what looks like seeds. So you have your sunflower seeds. Or you could do it like little scratch lines. That's another way to do it. But I like to add seeds this way. And I'm going from the bottom part, because that's where my shadow would be. And then getting fewer and fewer seeds as I go up, just to give a hint of some seeds. Add some more marks around the end. And there you have a very contemporary looking flower, and that's just another way to do it. So that's it for today. I hope you have some fun and feel like a big kid again working with crayons, and we'll bring you some more projects soon. Don't forget to add music too. Have a great day. Bye-bye.